Is Gerber Strong Arm the only hunting and tactical knife you'll ever need, or just a low-budget wannabe? Today we're going to find out. Hi everybody, welcome back to the LocaCarnivore. Glad you could join us again. Like we said in the hook, today we're talking about the Gerber Strong Arm. Yeah, it's their knife that looks really tactical, and we wanted to see if it would make a good all-purpose hunting, survival, and tactical knife. So we bought one, and we're going to show you what we think of it. Make sure you stay through the whole video because that's going to have all the information you want. Hey, while you're at it, don't forget to give us a big like. Make sure you subscribe. We'd love to have you on our team. And ring that little notification bell so you'll get notified every time we have a new video for you. Well, I'm sure the big question on your mind is, LocaCarnivore, why did you buy a Gerber Strong Arm? I already had a standard buck knife, hunting knife with a 4-inch blade and a gut hook and all that stuff. It had done pretty good service, but in my opinion, it didn't do all the things that I wanted. First of all, the way the gut hook was set up on that knife, the point, in order to have a decent skinning point, it comes up a little too high so that when you are getting that gut hook into an animal's abdominal wall and pulling down, as you get down to the lower part of the abdomen, it's really difficult to keep that point from sticking into the gut as you're drawing that gut hook down. So what I decided to do was switch to a dedicated gut hook. And we're going to do a video on the one we selected. We'll do it later. Make sure you subscribe though, and that way you'll get notified whenever we have that video come out, so you won't miss it. The other problem with that buck knife is the sheath that came with it. It's pretty problematic in my opinion. It's very basic, it's minimalistic, cheap, let's be honest, and it just fits on, has a single belt loop, just fits on your belt, only up to a 1.5-inch wide belt at that. And on top of that, what it means is, since you're carrying it on your belt, if you're wearing all your hunting clothes, especially when it's cold out, you've got your, all your layers, outer layers over that. And so in order to get to the knife when it's time, you have to fish all your layers up out of the way and everything so you can get on the hold of that knife and then take it out, do the job. And then when you're ready to put it back, it gets to be kind of an interesting dance to make sure that you don't accidentally stick yourself with the darn thing. And while you're doing it, you're transferring blood off your hands all over your clothes and everything. And since I hunt in grizzly country, having blood all over your body is not the best idea necessarily. So I wanted to minimize that. And then the final straw in the whole situation was I had finally put together this really nice bear country chest rig, and we have 2 videos if you'd like to catch up on how I put this together and then the various changes, evolutions it's gone through. So go ahead, down in the description, the links are down there. Check those out at your convenience. Now the big problem with the chest rig is it's all molly gear, and like I said, the sheath for that buck knife only fits on a belt. It would not go on this molly at all. So I was looking for a knife that would be suitable for hunting, sort of general survival use, and also if I needed it, I could use it to, do whatever I needed to do to defend myself with it. So it had to be sort of a multi-purpose blade. Admittedly, when you get into multi-purpose blades, you're going to make some compromises, and as we'll see down the road here, there were some compromises with the Gerber Strong Arm design. But the thing about the Gerber that really sold me on it was it had a really nice sheath with multiple attachment systems and options, one of which was molly, so I could put this on my molly gear. The other thing is I wanted a knife. As you can see, the chest rig comes down only a certain length, so you can't have a knife that's really big and long, like a big K-bar or say a Recon Tantor or something with a 7 or 8-inch blade or something like that. Really good fighting knives, and in the case of the K-bar, it's a decent survival knife, and you can use it for dressing game and stuff. But the big problem with it is it's too darn long. Either it's going to be, the handle's going to be sticking way up here, so that when you draw it, you have to come way up to get it out of the sheath. You could accidentally knock yourself in the chin if you're in a hurry and not paying attention. And the other problem is, or you have to set it down lower, and it'll jab you as you try to bend over. So there's that compromise point where you get a knife that's long enough to do the job with a long enough blade, but it's compact enough that it'll fit all the ergonomic issues and not take up any more real estate on the molly gear on the chest panel than necessary. And the other nice thing that this chest rig does is it gets all of my equipment that I need up out from underneath my clothes, off of my belt and everything, and up on the front of my gear where I can get to it really easily. Are you looking for more content than what you're getting on the video channel? Go over to our website, LocaCarnivore.com. Links down in the description. Check it out. We've also got a store tab there. Support us at our store. Buy LocaCarnivore merchandise. We'd appreciate that too. Thank you. Now, the Gerber Strong Arm is a pretty good multi-use knife. For one thing, it's got a really thick spine on it, which means that you can put pressure on it or even pound on it to chop into bigger things than what it would normally be able to do. And it also, with that reinforced spine, isn't going to bend or flex or even snap. So that thick spine on the Gerber Strong Arm really is a big plus in my opinion. Then it's got a fairly decent sweep up with the point, and that helps you with skinning. It gives you enough angle to like do skinning and things like that. Plus the tip, the way the spine and the edge and everything is blended into the tip, it reinforces the tip pretty well, which again is really important in a fighter. You need a tip that's going to be very strong, very resilient. So all these features sort of said to me, hey, this Gerber Strong Arm looks like it'll meet all the needs that I have. It checks all the boxes. So I bought it, found it in the sporting goods store, and the price wasn't bad at all, although they keep going up like everything. And I found out when I got it that after I played around with it a bit, it mounted on the molly gear super slick. It's really secure, doesn't rattle around or move or anything like that. When you draw the knife, it stays put. It doesn't try to follow along with the knife. And the sheath itself, I have to say, is really good. It's a very high retention sheath, and there's also an option you can have a snap loop around the handle if you want. I don't like that because if I need to get the knife out in a hurry, I mean, as a fighting knife, that's the way I want it. But the little clamping mechanism inside the sheath really works really well. It holds the knife until you got to really give it a good yank to get it out. Careful. You got to be careful with these darn things. The major source of support for the LocaCarnivore project is viewers like you. So if you wouldn't mind, go down to the link to our Patreon in the description, go over there, show us a little love, you'll get some goodies in return, and support us that way. Thank you so much. Now, other features on the knife that the Gerber Strong Arm that I really like is that the grip texture is really good. It's got a kind of it's a rubberized sort of covering over the overmold kind of thing over the shank of the knife. And it really has a good grip, especially when your hands are wet, like slick with blood or just, water, snow, anything like that. Found it to be very grippy, very positive. Also, it's got a demi cross guard with a little bit of an upsweep, so you can really keep your thumb on it, and or if you're thrusting, especially with an ice pick grip, the knife is not going to slide back in your hand, and your hand's not going to end up on the blade and cutting yourself. And then, of course, it has the skull crusher, the glass breaker pommel, which I think is a very good idea in a knife. I think that you should be able to use both ends of a knife in an emergency if you had to, and you have to be able to do good work with either end. So this fits that as well. And it has a lanyard hole drilled in the pommel as well. Hey, make sure you share this video with everybody out there. Let's put some legs on this thing and grow the channel. Now, another really good thing about the Strong Arm, while it's a fairly wide blade, it and the sheath are not so wide that you can't fit other gear over the top of it on your molly. And I'll show you here with my rangefinder case how that fits and just mock it up for you. And you can see how that can fit around there. Therefore, when I'm hunting, I take off the extra magazine pouch, put the extra mag in another spot, like backpack or wherever, or pocket, and then I put the rangefinder right over the top of the knife. So and neither one is in the way of the other. So it's a really good design from that standpoint. Worked out really well, in my opinion. Do you have a Gerber Strong Arm? What kind of hunting and tactical knife? Do you use a multi-purpose knife when you hunt, or a survival knife? Let us know in the comments. Go down there, tear it up. Every comment you give us helps us make a better video. All right, so I told you the stuff that I like about the Gerber Strong Arm knife. Let's cover the negatives though, and they were pretty big in my opinion. First of all, the factory edge on this thing is garbage. First time I tried to use it dressing a deer, it would barely get through the hair. It did not cut the skin very well. It was just a real mess. So I had to hone the living snot out of it, and then it's finally started to perform pretty well. But I wouldn't say it had the same edge as my buck did. So that was very disappointing. And the other problem I had with it was I wasn't really pleased with the tip geometry. Although I praised it as a good compromise between a fighter and a survival knife, it is that, but it's a little shallow of an edge, or a little shallow of a curve for skinning duties. And you have to be very careful when you're skinning with this knife that you don't end up making your hide look like Swiss cheese. Overall, I like the design of the knife. I like the size of the knife. It's very handy. I like the sheath. I like the way it mounts up. All the options that come with that. And I also like the grip, the way that's designed, and the grip texture. And I also like you guessed it, the glass breaker on the end of it. I like that a lot for just about any knife, but especially this kind of knife. But like I said, I don't like the edge. They needed to use a much better quality of steel or a grade of steel on this knife. I don't know what actual steel they used, but it's not very good for edge quality, and they don't do a good job sharpening this thing at the factory, which is really disappointing. I mean, you ought to be able to shave with a knife when it comes out of the factory. It should be that sharp, and this just isn't there. How would I describe the Gerber Strong Arm in one line only? It's a budget-priced fighting shank that you can use in the field if you can't afford anything better. Hey, thank you for taking your valuable time to watch us here on the LocaCarnivore. We really appreciate it. Hope you learned something. Hope you got some good intel on this Gerber Strong Arm. And I'll leave you with two thoughts. First, number one, the ultimate act of resistance is insisting upon facts. And number two, you can learn at least one thing from every person you meet. So pay attention.
Mwahaha!